You think you're retired here
Yes.
real quick.
I was in bed and they told me.
I'm gonna...
Back.
This is Alex Ortiz in all of his glory.
In all my glory, baby.
I go to bed. I'm done. I don't party anymore. Don't drink. It's over. No. I drank many years, so I don't do it no more. The audience knows what's coming, and that makes me laugh. And what I've noticed in comedy is if they're laughing and I'm laughing and we start giggling, it's pretty much over. It's a done deal. Alex Ortiz. I've been doing comedy 16 plus years at this point. All jokes aside, in Chicago, I was a young black comic when I started, BET, all that stuff. And there was Damon Williams, Bernie Mac, Deion Cole, D. Ray Davis, Tony Schofield. We all kind of started in that club. And I started telling jokes one night, and somebody said, "You should do it, you're funny." And I went up on stage and tried it, and it felt good. So I kept doing it, and since those guys kind of took me under their wing and and made me a better comic. So I do everything about life. I have 5 kids, 2 wives, 6 jobs. I've been a firefighter, nurse, soldier in the Army. So I've had many different facets of life that I can tap into. Yeah, now I'm doing acting. So every couple of years I shake it up. It keeps you young though. It keeps you interested. Because if you do the same job, I think it's insane to do the same job for 30 years and then retire and then have nothing to do. And I'm like, I just jump it around. And, at this age now, I just started scuba diving because it's something I want to do on my bucket list. So I went and got my certification, and now I'm doing that. So if you keep life interesting, it keeps you young. It keeps you vibrant. I always liked cartoons. I always wanted to grow up to be a cartoon character, and I watched all the cartoons when I was a kid, and I did all the voices. So I do all the Warner Brothers voices. I did the Sesame Street Tonight. I do singer voices. I like impersonating. I've always been a natural mimic. If I sit down and talk to somebody who has an accent, after about 7 minutes, I start to sound like them. And I don't mean to do it. It just kind of happens. So I've always mimicked people, and I've always mimicked voices, and I think it's amazing. I love doing it. He was one of my favorite people of all time. He's like a lifelong hero, and I always wanted to, sound like him. Hello, how you doing? What's up, baby? It's Louis Saxmo in the house. So I love doing all kind of voices, and that's one of my favorites. Yeah, meeting Ray Charles. Yeah, it was one of those moments in life where it just crystallized, and to this day, it's still a moment I can pull up whenever things are going bad. And remember that day you met Ray Charles, and he said you was funny? That was a good one. That and winning Showtime at the Apollo's Comedy Championship, because I don't know if you've ever seen the show. Showtime at the Apollo used to come on after Saturday Night Live. When they boo somebody, they boo amazingly, like they do it with gusto. They really want. They come to boo. And to get a standing ovation there and winning the whole comedy competition, that was kind of one of those moments in life that I'll never forget. Like everybody else, you brush it off and move on. I mean, if you let failure knock you down as a comic, you're not going to make it in this job. Everybody bombs. Any comic that ever tells you that he's never bombed is lying. We all do it. I saw a Richard Pryor tape called Live and Smoking. And then Richard Pryor's nervous, he's smoking a cigarette, and he's not doing well. And I thought, if it could happen to Richard Pryor, none of us is immune. So yeah, you just got to let it go. You can't take it. Once you're off the stage, you got to let that go. And then you go on to the next, because the next show will be, it'll be an amazing show. So there are nights where you bomb and nights where it happens less now because I'm more seasoned. But in the beginning, it happened more often. So you don't get used to it, but you get comfortable with it. You're like, all right, I didn't have a good show tonight, so what can I do tomorrow to make it better? And that's in life, and everything you do in life, you got to figure out how to make it better if it's not working. My favorite comic of all time is Stephen Wright. I think he's amazing. He kills me. I can't tell you his deadpan delivery and the things he says. I have I have a map of the United States at home, actual size. You know, stuff like that. George Carlin, those guys, Cheech and Chong, and those are the albums I listened to when I was a kid. And then in school, I was a big nerd, so I was in the audiovisual department, and I listened to Abbott and Costello and Amos and Andy and the Jack Benny Show. So I've always been a kind of a huge fan of comedy. I was a firefighter. That was a great job. I loved it. I loved being a nurse. So that's what I was doing when I got into comedy. I was firefighting, and on my nights off, I was nursing, days off. And that was I've always been a first responder. Since I was 18, I was a combat medical specialist in the Army. So I've always been that guy, you know, ambulance driver and paramedic. I've always been a first responder. So, I mean, I probably would have been a pediatrician if I could have done it, because I'm a great big kid. And kids just make me happy. We smile together. We're probably the same mental age. Even though I'm an old guy, mentally I'm still about 8, 9 years old. Paycheck, of course, but it means that I can get paid to do all the stuff that I used to get in trouble for.